What's up, guys? Who Needs Men here, coming at you with another retro deck profile. Today I wanted to look at something really old and look at Android format for May 2003. I'm not a fan of Yada format, so between here and Yada, it's kind of where my collection kind of stops. I do have the Worlds 2004 format, but I wanted to look at something right before Yada and all of the big chaos monsters, BLS, CED, things like that. So I wanted to look at a pre-Yada lock deck, and I wanted to especially look at something pre-GOAT because I haven't done anything pre-GOAT yet. But these are still formats that I enjoy playing. It's just you don't see a lot of it on the channel because who am I going to play this with? So let's get right into this. This is a time in Yu-Gi-Oh's history where sets would come out, but they wouldn't be legal right away. It's also a time where rulings were hilarious and bad, and cards were printed bad, and we'll kind of get into that. But this is, I believe, May 8th, which coincides with the release of Starter Decks Pegasus and Joey. Most importantly, getting Graceful Charity. So there are multiple copies of Graceful Charity in here. The card was actually at 2. It was put to 2 immediately when it came out. That's something that Yu-Gi-Oh! Kind of had to do with it, where they would release a set and then make it legal and then ban cards, or limit cards essentially, because there were no ban cards at this point in time, where they would limit cards as the set became legal. So we didn't have formats with 3 Delinquent Duos or 3 Snatch Steals, things like that. So, of course, the one of Boss Monster, Jinzo, this card is at 1. There are only 11 monsters at 1 on this list, and 5 of them are pieces of Exodia, 1 of them is Morphing Jar, and the other 5 are in this deck. So you'll kind of see them as we go. For hilarious rulings and brokenness, we have 2 copies of Bazoo and 1 copy of Kycoo. Essentially, you play 2 Bazoo, and then you play an out to your opponent's Bazoo, preventing them from doing this. If you notice on the original prints of these, you can banish cards and not monsters for their effects. That is still, they are not errated at this point in time. You cannot, or you can banish spells for Bazoo, and you can banish your opponent's spells with Kycoo, which plays into the 2 of Magician of Faith. So you could hit important faith targets with Kycoo and things like that. So that is important to know for this format. And the rulings, again, rulings are hilarious. We hadn't gotten the unlimited prints of either of those 2 cards. 2 Magician of Faiths. I believe this is actually another point in time where this card doesn't target. I don't think this card targets until 2004, which is really funny. And yes, this, again, the game is kind of broken. I believe Trap Hole also targets at this point in time. Really not great. 1 copy of Cyberjar as kind of an out to Jinzo and resetting the board and things like that. So if your opponent starts to outpace you, you do have the ability to set this and kind of come back. We play a tomato box. I play 2 tomatoes. There's some lists that play 3, but you have 2 Mystic Tomatoes, which can dig you towards Sangan, and again, 1 Witch of the Black Forest. No monsters, no cards are banned. So if you see a card that is out, you can play at least 1 copy. Another important thing that happened right around this time period is video game promos became legal. So we got Sinister Serpent. So this is legal. Harpie's Feather Duster is also legal. That came out halfway through April, I believe. The release date was April 15th. And then earlier in this year, they were saying, you know, if a video game promo comes out, it is a legal card. But before, video game promos were not legal. And then a few other monsters. We have 1 Zombira. This card is really nice because it deals with Gemini Elf. We went from Lajin to Mechanical Chaser to Gemini Elf, just slowly creeping up the Beatstick vanilla ladder. Some cards, or some decks often play 2 of this card, or 3 of this card. I'm playing 2, and then, so you would play 3 vanillas. You either play 3 Elf or 2 Elf and 1 copy of Summon Skull. Summon Skull is an out to Jinzo, but it's also because we have 2 Charity, and then we still have a lot of Reborn spell and traps. We still have Call the Haunted, we still have Reborn, we still have Preemie. So all of these are legal. So I figured I'm going to go with the 2-1 ratio and then use the spells for Summon Skull so that we can like Reborn it or whatever, use all of our Reborn effects. So that is it for the monsters. It's 16, I believe. Yeah, 16 monsters. And then we'll get on to the 17 absolutely broken spells. We'll start off with the Unholy Trinity. Yeah, these are all legal at the same time. 1 copy of Forceful Sentry, 1 copy of Confiscation, and 1 copy of Delinquent Duo. Obviously, Serpent is good against Duo. And then our reborn spells are good for just pitching stuff that we can just like reborn and stuff like that. Yeah, we have these 3 cards that are incredibly broken. You can get them with Moth. Everything, all the spells are pretty much, incredibly broken, including our 3 draw cards. Those of you who play Go format know we only usually get 1 of these, but we have 2 Graceful Charities and 1 Pot of Greed. Again, just dig. You can just power through this deck. It's so fast, and surprisingly the games take a little bit longer than you would think, though, just because of how not underpowered the monsters are, but because of how difficult it is to put a ton of monsters on the board. But again, you can steal games out of absolutely nowhere because we have Snatch Steal and Change of Heart still all both at 1 completely legal cards. So again, use these to kind of end the game. The fact that we can change our heart like an opponent's Moth and just flip it is really good. And then we have some reborn cards here. Of course, Monster Reborn, LOB, staple, and then 1 Premature Burial, Pharaoh Servant. This and LON were the 2 most recent sets and really brought a lot of cool stuff to the game. Premature being a staple all the way through until it got banned. Fun, ruling, and hilariousness. 1 Nobleman of Crossout. At this point in time, you cannot activate this card if your opponent has a face-up Kycoo. They didn't fix that until like 2004 as well. So I just think that ruling is just unbelievably hilarious. You cannot knock because it banishes cards and it says you can't banish cards. It's really goofy. I don't fully understand what they were thinking. Another ruling that happened, it took for a little bit of time to say that if you chained MST to your own trap card and blew it up while World Decree was on the field, it would resolve, kind of like if you tributing them on like Exiled Force under Skill Drain, it doesn't stop it. It was the same kind of stupid thing. So people were doing things like that. More removal spells. We have 1 Dark Hole, and we have Raigeki. This card, again, completely legal. Nothing banned. 1 copy... 1 copy of the most broken card in the history of the game being 1 copy of Painful Choice. You could send a bunch of spells and then off them back. You could send a bunch of monsters, banish them for a Bazoo. There's a whole bunch of stuff you can do, but Bazoo isn't out to Jinzo. Summon Skull isn't out to Jinzo, and it's really weird how the deck and the things work. This and Critter format are really interesting in that regard. And we also have 3 back row removal cards. We have 1 Heavy, 1 Feather Duster, and 1 MST. Another thing to note from this point in Yu-Gi-Oh's history, quick play spells can be activated the turn that they are set. So if you set this card and your opponent goes end phase Imperial Order for some reason, Imperial Order is also legal, you can just flip the space. But yeah, this is the spell lineup. Again, everything is hilariously broken. The fact that quick play spells can be activated, it's because of the text on Dust Tornado, but it wouldn't get fixed until later on. And then for trap cards, there are only a few of them here. 1 copy of Imperial Order. This is our main floodgate here. We're going to use this to kind of shut things off. It's important to note that this is only your standby phases for the paying, and it's optional. It's optional. You can just flip it, negate your opponent's spells, yeet it off the board, and then do whatever you want. So that is an important thing to note. So you only have to pay during your standby phases, and you can do it whenever you want. You can kind of shut it off. So you can dictate the tempo. 1 copy of Magic Jammer. Again, there are so many unbelievably good spells that we needed something other than Imperial Order to prevent them from going off. 1 copy of Call the Haunted. MST Call, Chain Jinzo or whatever. It's still a play. It's been a play long before Go format. Funny enough, we played 2 copies of Jar of Greed. This is mostly because of all of the back row hate in the format. The fact that we can chain Jar to something in order to kind of, if you do a set 2 to bait out a Heavy Storm or to bait out a Feather Duster, we can make sure that we, replace that card and we're not going minus with it. So that's kind of important for this format to just have something, and just the draw power in general is nice. And then 1 copy of Mirror Force, which was limited, but because of all the Jinzos and stuff like that, we only play 1 Torrential Tribute. We're not playing 1 because it's limited. We're playing 1 out of choice. This card's a 3. A lot of side decks will have 2 copies of it in the side. I don't have a sideboard for this format because, again, typically don't play it, but a lot of it is just like Solemn Judgments and Torrentials and things like that for decks that aren't based around Jinzo. So that's kind of the construction of it. But if you want to see more really old deck profiles, I have some stuff from like 2002 to 2006 that I wouldn't mind doing. So if you guys want to see more of those, just let me know in the comments below. And like and subscribe for more retro format content. And thanks for watching, guys.